So it was almost $100,000 loan.
We're about to have like 45 dumpsters in a little bit here.
And if I would have given up then, we wouldn't be here talking today. Yeah, so we hit $500,000 with 3 guys. My name's Emilio Revelar. I'm the CEO and owner of Dumpster Divers and started this back in 2015.
And I'm Kyle Tiller. I am the COO and all-around operations guy.
Pretty much started with an idea. My dad had an old trailer that he had on his property and an old truck to a 2000 F-150. And back in college, I sort of wanted to, prove to myself that I could be like a business owner because I was going for business management. So I just wanted to see, hey, why not? Let's try it out. So back then, just started doing junk removal at the time. And after doing that for a couple years, me and Kyle came together and started Dumpster Divers to what it is today with like the whole dumpster rental stuff. So a lot of things have changed from then, but mainly it was junk removal from the start.
Before Dumpster Divers came to be, Emilio and I worked at 2 Men in a Truck together.
Yeah.
And became just quick friends. But we were graduating college about the same time, although I'm a little bit older than him. It took me a little bit longer. But we were working at 2 Men. You graduate college, and you got bosses telling you what to do. Emilio and I back in the day were at the old Dave & Buster's. Well, Dave & Buster's is still there. We were at Dave & Buster's, and I was like, I got this idea. We could start a company called Dumpster Divers. Around that time that Emilio mentioned, getting the trailer from his dad in the truck, I went to work at the corporate office at 2 Men in a Truck. Just kind of happened perfectly that way. That was 2015 as well. So I went out there to learn just all the business stuff that you need to know to grow and be successful. So I went out there for a couple years. During that time, Emilio and I tried and were very unsuccessful in getting business loans to try to, make it into an actual company. We got denied probably 4 or 5 times, which the banks were like, you guys both have college debt, so why would we give you any money? Which is America, I guess, So he called me up one day and says, hey, we got it. We got the loan. He's like, can you come back? Can we do this thing? And I'm like, I'm coming back. Let's do this thing. And that was 2019. And we got our first truck and 9 dumpsters. And then we started out pretty slow from there. Now we're up to 3 trucks. We're about to have like 45 dumpsters in a little bit here. And we're working on trying to franchise.
Can I ask how much the first loan was?
I wouldn't even consider it a loan. It was sort of like, here are terms, either you agree to it or you don't, because of the loan was just crazy, like insanely high APR. But you sort of need to do those things when you start, just to get the ball rolling and everything. So I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but the amount for the truck was about like 35, and then for 9 dumpsters, probably add another 60 to that. So it was almost $100,000 loan there together for the first truck and the 9 dumpsters. But that was back in 2019, and now due to inflation and stuff, you're looking at probably times that and a half. So it's kind of a little bit crazier now to get something like that. But
and then what do your day-to-day operations look like back then versus now?
Yeah, so what you see here, it wasn't like this the entire time. It was more like we were running this out of my house for like the longest time. So we were doing this for how many years would you say? Like 3 years out of my house, or 4?
Yeah, so 2015 to 2019 till what was last year? 2022. So yeah, 3 years.
So 3 years running out of my house.
Just meeting at Emilio's house, playing with the dog, drinking some coffee,
yeah,
and then going out and doing this stuff. Yeah. And nowadays we have, there's us 2, and we have another employee, Tony, who's out there right now. We kind of had between 3 and 4 employees last year with another guy who is probably going to come back pretty soon here too. So there's about 4 of us on average now, and we will be hiring some more. But yeah, it used to be just out of the house, kind of free flow, little uncoordinated, and now we all meet here. At the office that we moved in last March. Yeah, we meet here, throw the football around a little bit, tell some jokes, get some coffee, and then we shoot the trucks out to do, we mostly start with the dumpster rentals and pickups earlier, work in the junk removals when we can, and then work in the demolition work on top of that too, whenever it comes in.
Can you talk a little bit more about the rentals and then those different streams of income?
We are probably, I'm pretty confident when I say this, we're the only company in at least the west side of Michigan that offers custom rentals. You call any dumpster company around town, they're either going to give you a 3-day rental or a 7-day rental, even a 10-day rental, but they won't customize your rental to you, and that's what's special about us. So going to the rentals, you can do rentals starting at 24 hours, and then you can keep it really as however long you want to keep the dumpster for. And we customize the price towards that, and then your location and other factors as well. But with that being said, we came with the idea back when it was just me with a couple trailers. I had to maximize, everything I could out of these things, so I rented them out for a day and got them back real quick so I could flip them real fast. And that's where the idea stemmed from, was from that, to be able to offer people custom rentals so they feel like they're, and they actually are saving money too, doing it that way versus just, having somebody run a 10-day rental and have to pay for the entire time, and especially if they only needed it for a couple of days, that's where we really shine for a lot of our clients and customers and stuff like that.
Yeah, the beauty of dumpster divers is, and I say this all the time, so that's why it's going to sound somewhat scripted, but the dumpster rental industry is mostly made for contractors and builders. And when regular people need a dumpster, they're just kind of shoved into that industry, and they're, I don't know anything about this, so sure, a 10-day rental sounds good. And other companies will give you 6,000 pounds weight allowance, which you're like, that sounds good, but we know that you can never, if you're just throwing away stuff in your house, your basement, you can never get even 1/3 that high most of the time. And so this is where I like to use, we democratize the dumpster rental industry for regular consumers, where, as Emilio mentioned, a lot of people are knocking out their bathroom, for example, and they'll just throw everything in the garage. And then, after a month or so, one of the people in the house gets sick of it and they're like, we need to rent a dumpster. And they can just take the stuff from the garage and throw it in the dumpster in a couple of hours. And so we can offer them that for a much lower price, for a weight limit that fits a regular person, and we just charge them accordingly. And so we kind of make the industry for the consumer instead of the consumer trying to figure out what to do in the industry. Because a lot of people, most of the customers are just first-time renters, and I will say it's kind of intimidating when you call around, because we are very customer servicey and nice, and we like to joke around and stuff. But sometimes you call a place and they're like, this is the price, do you want it or not? And so a lot of people get intimidated and they're like, yeah, sure, But then when, if it came down to the end of the year and you could analyze all your expenses, you'd be like, I paid $300 extra for a dumpster and I didn't need all that extra stuff. So that's when he mentions that's where we shine. We just kind of fit to what people need, and people do love us for it.
With dumpster rentals, especially being here in the Midwest, it's a very seasonal business. So you can expect during the winter time to be a lot slower than compared to the summertime. But with dumpsters, our profit margins are a lot better compared to our competitors, especially because they'll be renting out dumpsters for 10 days and having to have that can there for that period of time, and only being able to charge X dollars, versus us, we flip the cans a lot quicker, being able to do custom rentals and then charge a still reasonable price for that. But as far as sales go, with one truck and I'm gonna say 15 dumpsters in a non-saturated market, you'd probably make anywhere between you definitely would make 6 figures, especially with us. Our first year with our 1 truck and 9 dumpsters, I think we hit 148.
It was less than 200,000, yeah.
Yeah,
and that was, we were really trying to figure it out that year.
Yeah.
The next year after that, we grew to 2 trucks. We had 2 trucks. That was over 300,000. Last year was a little under 400,000. And this year, or the year 2020, was under 400,000, and then 2022, oh man! And last year, then was our first year of hitting 500K.
Yeah, so we hit $500,000 with 3 guys, 2 trucks, and then about 30 dumpsters. And that's in a very saturated market. Grand Rapids is very saturated when it comes to dumpsters. So we did that with this type of market, and just having 3 guys run it. But again, to the potential franchisees, we have the process down, and that's really the secret sauce, is that process that we created for ourselves to be able to replicate it for you guys. So these sales figures are estimates, or not estimates, but there are sales figures, but it's something that you could expect, having very low labor, just having not super expensive equipment, and also not having as much equipment compared to every other competitor out there, just because we have that secret sauce that no one really can copy. It's really, and honestly, the sky's the limit too, just because we did have a few truck issues last year, so we really could have hit 550, 565 if we had went balls to the walls kind of thing. So.
And I will say, I'm not a math whiz at the moment, but that's like probably 30% growth each year that we've been really trying to rock and roll. And we're gonna try to do it again this year too, because really, with our process and how we interact with the customers, we get loyalty, which is weird, I would say, like for a dumpster. I mean, obviously contractors will have people that they use, but like for regular residential people, we're their go-to dumpster company, which is just wild because it's a dumpster and it's not like an iPhone or anything like that. But we set aggressive goals for ourselves, so we're trying to grow another 20 to 30% this year.
And then how are you getting these clients? Like, are you guys doing traditional advertising, or are you doing social media?
As far as lead generation, we highly use like Facebook ads, Google ads, just the general stuff. But a lot of the business too that we get is referrals and also repeat customers. So I mean, we have customers that have used us 3-5 times already, and then we have relationships with roofers and builders where, I mean, these guys just keep renting dumpsters from us every single week. But a big chunk of it is from the lead generation would be just like Facebook and stuff for first-time customers, and then once you try us out, you see that we're pretty cool dudes, pretty upfront. The price is super fair, and you have like a really cool baby blue dumpster sitting out there instead of like a really crappy rusty dumpster out there. So
we also offer junk removal service on top of the dumpsters. The dumpsters, as we kind of explained, are very customized to what people need. The junk removal service is also what we call state of the art, which is a customer can just get in contact with us. They tell us what they need gone, and we just ask them to send us pictures. Our business phone is just a cell phone, so they can just text us the pictures, and then we'll just tell them about how much it's going to cost. A lot of other companies, they want to come on site and do an on-site estimate, and then once they tell you kind of how much the price is, which most of the time is like 1.5 to 2 times more expensive than us.
outrageous.
Yeah, and then they just tell you the price, and then they just kind of stand there, and you feel a little awkward, and you feel like you should just do it right then and there. So we try to take all the anxiety out of it, and we're just like, yeah, just text us the pictures. I'll tell you how much it costs. If you like it, then we'll get it scheduled. As I mentioned, Emilio and I and Tony, our other guy, we all used to be movers. So when we do the junk removals, we're not putting holes in walls and breaking door frames and stuff like that. So it works out pretty well for us, and it gives us a little exercise.
And is that more commercial or residential?
A little bit of both, I'd say. And we do bids sometimes for clothing stores and office buildings with want to get rid of their old files or whatnot. But mostly residential, I want to say.
A lot of good stuff.
So part of the reason that we were excited to move into this office is behind us you kind of see some random junk. Well, I shouldn't say junk. We try to, if we find nice stuff or nice enough stuff that doesn't need to go into the landfill, because the landfill is a finite resource. At some point it gets too full and they just shut it down. So we try to keep as much stuff out of there as we can. So we'll either donate stuff, whether that be Goodwill or Habitat. But if we can't donate it or we can't scrap it at like the metal yard or whatnot, we'll bring it back here, and we call this area our storefront. And that is where we try to resell things that we can. And we utilize Facebook Marketplace to try to resell things. We've sold like a pretty nice smoker that we got from a job out in Ada. We just sell it for dirt cheap prices because we're not trying to, we're not like a retailer by any means. So if there's some people out there that might not have access to one of these things, then we can sell it to them for lower prices. So yeah, we do find some good stuff. The couch that you're sitting on, we found at a job, and we just try to make the office more homey and utilize all the space that we can.
How far out are you guys going for jobs?
It really just depends on what sort of thing it is, but generally we're probably about like 30-40 mile radius from here. So we'll go all the way up to Muskegon, up to just a little bit south of Grant, Michigan, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
All the way down to Kalamazoo, east. We'll go all the way up to like Lake Odessa, Lowell, and then obviously all the way west, all the way to Holland and stuff like that. So we have a pretty good like range of the local area, like the greater Grand Rapids area. So we utilize the entire area to do jobs like dumpster rentals, junk removal, and demolition too is actually a growing part of our business right now too. I should say like more interior demolition or like light structural demolition. So like we actually have some really cool shots of us knocking down a garage for an older lady. The roof had collapsed in on itself, and we did this a couple years back, but we ended up demolishing it all by hand and hauling everything away. And then we actually did one like a couple weeks ago where this other lady's garage just burned up to a crisp.
Yeah,
and we demolished the rest of it too there. So that's sort of as big structures as we go, but as far as like interior demo, we'll gut an entire house down to the studs and have it completely ready for the contractor to come in and do their thing. So.
Yeah, the beauty of our demolition service is, number one, we know what we're doing, which you hear horror stories on the news or whatever about contractors, but it can extend to demolition companies or people that claim to be demolition companies. One of the companies we work with, Render, they do like renovations and remodeling and building and stuff like that, but they were just telling me that they like working with us because some places they hire just come in like, he said, bulls in china shops, which I know that expression, but there's a way to do it. You got to be very regimented. But yeah, we go in there and we know what we're doing. That's number one. But number two, we charge hourly for it. So, and the reason for that is sometimes you can just not know exactly what's going to happen. So you might end up charging a customer too much, if it happened to be easier, or if it turns out that there's 3 walls behind the first wall, which sometimes happens, or a bathroom is a nightmare. Heck, we had not too long ago, there was a bee's nest inside of a bathroom. And yeah, they found out about that real quick.
And actually this guy right here, he's the one that got in, if you want to get in the shot. We were doing a demolition for a customer's house, and remember that wasp nest we hit?
Oh yeah.
How many times you get stung?
I think 3.
3 times? Yeah, that was not the greatest time for Tony there. So we've done demolition jobs where we ran into those kind of issues, and that was a first for us though, running into a wasp nest. That was kind of crazy, because next thing I hear is just Tony being like, ah. It's like, what's going on, dude? He's like, let's go. Just like we just rush out of the bathroom as quick as we can. Yeah, it was pretty funny, but not for Tony.
Yeah, we try to charge hourly for that, so just in case you run into something. But it works out for us, it works out for the customers. We can accurately gauge about how long something will take there's online calculators that you can use where you basically type in what kind of demo you're doing, how much stuff there is, measurements, and it'll tell you roughly about how long it should take and what a price might be. And then, if we think it's too high, then we'll make it work for the customer. Then we just do the demo. We haul everything out of there. It's fun to do. A lot of our job is, it's mostly, we probably do 75% dumpster rentals, 20% junk removals, and like 5% demos. So a lot of the times we're just sitting, if we're driving around all day or doing office stuff. And sometimes we'll get out for the junk removals, of course, but it's nice to get into somebody's house, or if it's like a shed out back that they want gone, and you just kind of hit stuff and take out anything you might have pent up inside. And so it's a nice balance to keep us grounded.
What are some of the biggest expenses that come with your business?
Like, other than labor and stuff, dump fees are by far the greatest expense. Like, we try to minimize that as much as we can too by recycling, donating. But I mean, every year, being a dumpster rental company, it's definitely going to be your biggest expense.
That and fuel, especially last year when everything went like above $5 a gallon.
Yeah.
That was a rough couple months there where our trucks, it doesn't matter. We have a diesel truck and 2 gas trucks. doesn't really matter, what you're doing, you're gonna get way less than 10 miles per gallon. The diesel one, we try to keep on the highway to stretch that out as far as we can, but we spend a lot in gas per day. Which is one of the things, sometimes as a little PSA for the general public, sometimes, somebody might call us for a junk removal and, we tell them a price and they're like, I was expecting it to be like $40. And it's like, well, if we did it for $40, we'd have to pay to do the job. There's gas, there's the dump fees, labor, insurances, a lot of stuff that goes into a business. So, sometimes we run into some clientele who want it done for $40 and it just can't be done,
Not with these expenses, no way. That's what separates us too. We're actually a legitimate business, and people who get quotes from the $40 guy, they're not legit. They don't have any business insurance. So if they back into your fence, they break something in your home, you're the one who's going to be paying for that, not them, because you'll never hear from them again. So that's, I guess, another thing that separates us from the low-baller guys that'll do it for $100 or $50 or whatever. Just know what you guys are getting into. You're getting into someone who's gonna come into your home, not having really the best intentions other than just getting the money. So they're not gonna be as careful as, someone like us or even other competitors that actually have, legitimate business licenses and stuff like that. So.
How do you plan on expanding if you are trying to?
When Amelia and I got back together in 2019 and got everything going, again, we were spitballing ideas about how to grow. And I never forget, Amelia was like, we're gonna build an empire. He's like, we're gonna take over Grand Rapids. We're gonna have a huge store. We're gonna, I was like, I like it. I like the passion. I was like, but let me tell you about this idea, Amelia. Because where I came from, 2 men in a truck, it's a franchise system. And you get to know how it works, the relationships you can build with people, and you learn about royalties and kind of how that whole system works. And I was like, what if we did this? What if we made it work for like just 2 regular guys, figure out how to build a package that you can just plug in and go. And instead of having one big mega store, I was like, we can have a lot of littler stores all across the US. After a while, I was like, I kind of like that idea a little bit. This past year, we got all of our systems in place, how to do the Google ads, 100% efficient, how much revenue you can get out of each truck and each dumpster. And so we got the whole system set, and we are working through now to be able to become a franchisor. So we can start doing that. And our goal with that is, like I mentioned, we're just 2 regular dudes, and people, just regular guys who are like, I'd like to own a business, but I don't necessarily know how. Which is kind of how we did it. Amelia just had the truck and not the dumpsters, the trailers, and I was off in Lansing doing something else, and we didn't really know how to do it, so it's a slow process. I mean, we're 7-8 years in almost now, and got the system set so we can just package a deal and sell it to regular dudes across the US. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, so franchising, as Kyle mentioned, is going to be the way that we expand into other markets. Currently, we are, as you mentioned too, we're starting that process to be able to do it. And the sweet part about it too is, which gets us insanely excited about it, is that dumpster rentals is a very simple business. It's a very simple process. It's not like you're trying to set a rocket to the moon or anything like that. It's very simple. And it's very repeatable, and just it expanded to however big you want the company or whatever. But having that super simple process, and then actually having like a really easy way to do business with us too, just because we're looking for franchisees here in Michigan, but once we start expanding southward towards the Midwest, eastward and then westward, basically just going to start expanding all the way down south and hopefully growing the company through franchising and stuff like that.
Yeah, and one of the, I will say, beautiful parts of Dumpster Divers is we probably put too much work, although you probably can't put too much into this, but we put too much work into trying to figure out how to scale the business successfully. A lot of our competitors, and there are other companies and competitors in the Grand Rapids area, but it's not like a flush market. There's not too many. And a lot of, this is my opinion, and as Amelia and I talked about it, he understands what I'm saying. a lot of people want to just grow too fast, but they have way too many dumpsters and they have not enough trucks and not enough people to get the dumpsters out. And so then you run into an efficiency issue where you got loans to pay because you got all these dumpsters, but not a fast enough way to get them out or to be able to pick them up in a timely manner where you can make enough money off that dumpster to make it make sense. So our business model is very tight, meaning when we start franchising everything, and anybody that just generally wants to know, we didn't overextend ourselves, and we made it so you can have a package of what you can expect to spend and then what you can expect to make off of that without having to be worried about how am I going to pay for 200 dumpsters, and then it allows any prospective business owner to quickly understand how the business flow works instead of being overrun with, I got 40 pickups today, but one rental, so.
Where can anyone that's watching or listening find you guys?
We are not the only one. I wish we were the only one, but we're not. But we're one of the few companies in this area where you can just go on our website, dumpsterdiversllc.com, and you can order a dumpster like you're ordering a pizza. So again, like I mentioned earlier, somewhat intimidating if you want to order a dumpster and you don't know, or it's your first time, you don't know what's going on. And just kind of how the world is now, people would rather either text you or just do it themselves so they don't have to talk to you, which we're totally fine with because we got other things to do anyways. So people can either text us and they can book a dumpster that way, but on the website, they don't got to talk to us. There's a lot of information on there. It's really simple. You can just pick your date, pick your dumpster, your duration. You can sign a contract and you can pay right online. So it really is kind of like ordering a pizza. And then the dumpster shows up and then it's gone when you think it's going to be gone. And if you're not home, you might not even ever see us. But we are cool people, if you wondered.
What 3 tips of advice do you guys have for other entrepreneurs?
I would say my first one is, and I was talking with somebody else about this. So you got 2 options. One, you're either gonna do it all by yourself, or you're gonna have a business partner. So me and Emilio and I, we get along really well, which is nice. Although we do have arguments sometimes, I will say. But the beauty is we understand each other, and so you might not do exactly what you want to do every time, but you have somebody who has your back, so you don't have to do everything by yourself. Now, if you're a control freak out there and you want to start a business all by yourself, you will have like the mental clarity of not having to talk to anybody or take advice from anybody. You can just do what you want. But then you're also going to have to do everything yourself: the operations, the marketing, the bank account, all the boring stuff behind the scenes. The advice I would have is figure out what's important to you. You want to do your own ideas, or do you want to have it be a little easier on yourself, but you give up a little control?
One of the biggest tips I would give someone is when you're in the brink of giving up, that's when you should work a little harder, because there's like a few times in the past where I just remembered where I remember one time we did this job where we got fined by the state, and the state was like, yeah, you guys did this demo job and there was hazardous material there, so we're gonna have to give you a fine. And at the time, I mean, it was a big fine for me because it was just me, and I wasn't making that much money or whatever. And I was just like talking to my dad about this, and I was like, man, like, should I just give up? Should I just close shop? And he was like, nah, man, don't do that. Just give it another month. Like, just keep going. And a couple weeks later, I landed this like huge job that helped cover the fine. And I was like, man, if I would have given up 2 weeks ago, that would have been it. And if I would have given up then we wouldn't be here talking today about all this. So I guess my tip number 2 would be just when you're about to give up, just push a little harder and just give it another couple months and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think another one, you have to plan, but you have to have fun. And those sound like they're not related, but they are, because if you plan, then you can have fun. Because a lot of people, when I used to work at 2 Men in a Truck, you'd meet various types of business owners. Some are more on one side than the other. If you don't plan or have a goal, or if you're kind of just unsure of what the path is, then you're going to be too worried about it all the time to even have any fun. So for us, we like to sometimes, we'll get here and maybe we should have already left at like 8 o'clock, but maybe it's 8:15 and we're still telling jokes, because you need to, you want to come, to your own business, and you want to, not be like, man, what's going to happen today? So we do a lot of planning. We have a whiteboard over there with what we expect each month to be in sales. We plan out expenses for that, the old profit and loss statement, balance sheets and stuff like that. So we do a lot of planning to a degree, and then that allows us to, all right, it's 4:45, maybe we don't need to spend 15 minutes being as professional as we possibly can be. Let's tell a couple jokes, because I have seen professionalism be the detriment of any sort of culture you're looking to have. That's just me. Amelia and I have talked a million times about, once we have a big corporate office, or whatever you want to call it, making it not less structured, but kind of less structured, like where you're able to be yourself and you're not trying to be smarter than everybody else in the building and stuff like that. So if you plan, you can have fun, and that will set your culture. That's the fast way to say it.
That's a good one, yeah. Have fun with what you're doing, because if you don't love what you're doing, then you're just gonna give up.